everyone. Welcome back to Camp Conversations, where we are shifting away from our parenting edition series and into the main focus of our work, which is the keys to resiliency. The majority of the workshops that we have been running lately are with frontline professional staff, teachers, doctors, nurses, youth care workers that are suffering from burnout, doing the jobs that they are extremely passionate about. Our passion is helping these frontline staff members remain resilient so they can continue giving back to their communities in ways that fill them up, doing the things that they are born to do, that they are passionate about, and continuing to have work-life balance. So from here on out, our podcasts at Camp Conversations are going to be focusing on the keys to resilience.
How would I describe myself? Obviously, being a world champion rower is a big part of my identity. That was huge for me. Becoming who I am now. Who I am now is a very driven, goal-oriented person who really wants to inspire others to, I guess, acknowledge what we are capable of. I think my biggest learning over my journey has been what humans can actually achieve. And I know we hear about it all the time, that it's all in your mind, what's holding you back, but I've honestly experienced it. And we're capable of amazing things.
Mm-hmm. Even when we're faced with such tough decisions, and we always have this choice of what we're going to do with that decision.
Yeah, I would say that even more so when you have those challenges in front of you, you have that opportunity then to become stronger. And if you're living a pretty ordinary life, I don't know, I think if you've got those challenges to take on, we'll get more into this, but I think it really can enrich your life. And you might not see that at the beginning, but those opportunities are there.
Mm-hmm. I would love to dive into this first question because I think you've created such a beautiful segue. The majority of listeners to camp are parents. One of the things that they care the most about is fostering resilience in their children and helping them be full from within so that they can take on challenges of choice and they can also deal with the challenges that life throws at them. And so when we started polling our audience to see what they wanted to know from you, one of the biggest questions they had was, looking back, do you feel like anything prepared you for the challenges ahead? And I think they were speaking specifically to knowing that you were going to go blind. And they also want to know, and specifically to then entering the world-class rowing stage and sitting at a starting line. And they want to know, for all of these instances of the challenges that you faced, was it worth preparing for these challenges? Even when, for example, with losing your sight, that was an uncertain challenge that you wouldn't know fully how to prepare or what to do. And then sitting at a starting line at a world-class rowing event, that is a little more specific. And so were there differences in preparing for the two? Was it worth preparing for either? Or do you have more examples of challenges that you faced?
Yeah, there's a lot in there. So you might have to remind some of the pieces. But to start off, I would say there is a lot of similarities in facing the challenge of losing your sight and sitting at the start line because so change is something that we're all really afraid of, and it's because it's unknown. And so that's true of blindness too. Like, I know people are terrified of blindness because you don't know much about it, right? You probably haven't met someone who's blind. You don't know how you would cope with it if it happened to you. So it's really scary. Same with any change, really. That's what fear is. It's not knowing how you're going to cope with it and not knowing what's ahead. So I think in dealing with any challenge, the trick is, first of all, accepting that, okay, it's, you don't have to like what's happening, but you have to accept that, okay, I'm going to go down this journey and I'm going to figure out how to navigate it. Because the alternative is that you just stay where you are and nothing changes, nothing improves. So if you accept, like, okay, I'm going to figure this out, and then you start to learn things about what your challenge is. You talk to people who've been there before. You get support from other people. You understand the challenge, and you have a plan of when things go wrong, which you know they will. When things go
Mm-hmm.
wrong, what am I going to fall back on?
Mm.
So the reason I said that, falling back on a plan, that's how we would deal with racing. Because you're in a boat, you can't control the water, you can't control the weather, can't control the
Mm-hmm.
other boats around you, but you have a race plan and you know how you're going to get to that finish line and you have control over that. So whatever else is going on around you, you stick to that plan, you have confidence in that plan, and at the end of the race, you can look back and go, okay, I did what I set out to do, regardless of what the outcome is.
Mm-hmm.
I stuck with my plan.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's so many great things there. If I could just take away some key points from what I'm hearing you say, is that you found such value in having this proactive plan, of having a vision of what the outcome is that you're
Mm-hmm.
hoping for.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
And sorry, just to jump in, it's so important that you have control over that,
over that vision.
over that vision, because you
Mm.
can wish, oh, I want a gold medal. You don't have control over that. So then you're setting yourself up for disappointment. But if your
Mm.
goal is, every time I feel tired in this race, I'm going to sit up tall, then you have control over that and you can assess that at the end.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then I liked the piece of sort of the risk mitigation plan of,
Mm-hmm.
if things go sideways, here are maybe the resources I'm going to use. Here, maybe I can't actually do something about it in the moment, but I can
Mm-hmm.
control still how I complete or finish this.
Yeah.
Um, and
And then
sorry.
go ahead.
I'm just drawing this as a parallel to so many of the challenges that I hear coming from our audience or our camp members, and the tools that they can use with this parallel is that of not necessarily getting so stuck up on, in the exact moment, what am I going to do? But instead looking at, sometimes in the moment, we don't have total control, but we do
Mm-hmm.
have control in the the mindset that I'm going to have going into this. And then I
Mm-hmm.
do have control at the point of closure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's another piece that's been really important for me, which is, I always describe it as looking at things differently, which is really funny for someone who's blind to look at things differently. But there is always a way to appreciate something, um, when things are going wrong.
Mm.
I'll give you some examples. So a really simple example is, so when we would go somewhere with the kids when they were little,
Mm-hmm.
it's very difficult for me to navigate crowds and things.
Mm.
So, say for example, if we get off the subway at Young and Bloor, it's just like chaos. So we
Mm.
would hang back while everyone else, rushes through, and then once the subway is a little more clear, then we would walk through and we'd have an easier time.
Mm.
And it's really easy to go like, oh, it's so annoying. Like we have to wait and like, why can't people just be more considerate and complain about it. But we learn to appreciate that time of, you just step back, you don't get all stressed, you take a deep breath, we chat. And I mean, it's really simple, but just finding something that you can see a sort of silver lining
Mm.
with. My husband and I have said, like, I wonder if I had sight, if we would be as close as we are.
Mm.
Simple things like I can't drive, so we're always having to figure out when the kids were growing up, how are we going to get them here and there? We would do things together. So we had a really close relationship. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, maybe we would have anyway, but it's nice to kind of try and find a way to appreciate your situation, even if it could be interpreted as a bad situation.
Yes, having that mindset shift and
Mm-hmm.
seeing that silver lining. And I so often have to utilize this tool on myself, but we use it regularly in camp, and it's always ranking our values. And it sounds like you've used that, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've used that a little bit in creating that mindset shift. It sounds like connection with your family really ranks high on your values, so that you're
Yeah.
using that value to see the silver lining in some of the things that would be annoyances or challenges.
Yeah, for sure. And being flexible to maybe shift what those values are given a situation, right? Like, so I used to be a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and when I lost my sight has deteriorated gradually. So it
Mm-hmm.
finally got to a point where I needed some help to teach.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to my principal, who I'd worked with for a long time, and told her, starting to struggle, I'm going to need support. She tried to talk me into quitting, and she said that
Wow.
parents wouldn't want someone with a disability teaching their kids.
Wow.
And I had wanted to teach since I was a little kid. Like, this had been a lifelong dream. I had done so much working towards being a teacher. And I was just devastated when,
Mm.
I'm being told, like, you're not good enough to be a classroom teacher. And
Mm.
yeah, it was rough. But one of the things that helped me actually find rowing was, okay, like, this has been a lifelong passion, but that doesn't mean there aren't other things that I could be passionate about. And
Mm.
that was a really tough lesson for me, because it's like, this has been like my North Star my whole life. And it's like, now I'm
Yes.
supposed to shift it. But I finally got on board with that idea, and like, okay, there's got to be other things that I could love as well. And anyway, the long story short is I found rowing. So I think sometimes you have to be willing to put in some effort to figure out what that goal is, or what's going to help you have some passion or purpose in your life
Mm.
that's going to help you get through those tough times as well.